Welcome back! Last episode, I set up a few miners, got attacked, and set up them all. Red and green signs were also automated. In this episode, I'll be rehoming the natives to the spirit world and setting up even better belt spaghetti, so buckle up, it's gonna be a wild ride. To start off, I set up a temporary furnace to create steel. That way when the time comes for better power pulls to be made, there will be sufficient resources waiting. The large steel smelting array that I want to make requires upgraded power pulls to function. While I kill some time waiting for research to complete, I can set up a few more iron smelting stacks. I plan on using a ton of iron plates for science and other buildings in the future. It's not a bad idea to think big early on. Eventually I plan on converting the original iron smelting setup to smelt copper instead. That way there will be a 1:2 ratio of copper to iron. Here you can see me using some stolen goods in the form of a belt balancer book. I'm not sure who I got it from, but whoever it was, they have some seriously big brains to make such a handy book. For the most part, in this playthrough, I'll be making my own blueprints and designs. I find that making my own unoptimized pile of spaghetti belts is actually more fun than pasting down a design that could carry me to endgame. A little pro tip, you can make an upgrade plan that downgrades buildings from say blue belts to red belts. That way you can use something like this book early on and have it still work. When the belt's properly balanced, I feel that it's time to start saturating a few more smelters. I've noticed there's been a shortage of iron plates going to science production, so this should help speed things up a bit. Now that the base has expanded so much, our pollution cloud continues to grow, like the factory of course. I practically decided it's time to forcibly evict the neighbors from the territory. With a few turrets and a little creep, it's just too easy to claim this land. They also happen to be living on top of precious oil, which I will soon be needing to move on to more advanced technologies. While I was expanding the factory into the south, I noticed a sliver of iron ore on the map. That'll be very handy in the future because I'm not sure our tiny starter patch can keep up with the demands much longer. Now that we have automation 2 completed, we can craft science even faster. So far, the limiting factor to our progress include 1. My lack of brain cells, 2. Keeping enough resources on belts and properly distributing them. Five hours in and we've only made 10,000 logistic science packs. I feel like in a normal playthrough, the same amount of progress could have been made in 30 minutes. I guess that's why it's called a challenge after all though. Now that we have better power pulls unlocked, it's time to set up steel smelting. Conveniently, I have a box with steel already prepared to make this process even faster. See, sometimes I do have the ability to think ahead. I'm sure with some good old-fashioned belt weaving this could have been built sooner, but to be honest, it's not important enough to start breaking out the underground belts. Now that we have iron, steel, and copper, it's time to get bricks cooking too. First things first, I have to set up the miners and get everything routed to the furnaces. Soon, we'll be able to automate walls and most importantly, military science. As it turns out, I actually didn't think ahead when trying to design a main bus, so I'm going to cram some more mall items next to the green science. At some point, I'll have to tear everything down and get a proper main bus design functioning, but for now, this is just a starter base. I hope. Now that we have an abundance of large power poles, we can start expanding to the southeast. Last episode, I found a decent sized coal patch that we can exploit and use to fuel the expansion of the factory. On my way to the coal patch, we take out a few nests. One of them even includes our first medium biter. Looks like we might need some better bullets going forward. Well, there's my first and definitely not my last death. I'm going to blame it on one of my own turrets killing me and not me walking straight into a huge pile of quitter spit. Probably should have swallowed a few of those fishies before advancing. You better believe when I respawned, I started military 2 research. That was quite an embarrassing death. The upside of me involuntarily forfeiting my life to a few biters was the discovery of a much larger and more usable coal patch. That other patch would have required a landfill to actually be somewhat useful, but this new patch would be easy to set up and get trains going to once we get those researched. I upgrade a few of the furnace stacks to use steel furnaces so that I can get more iron plates being produced. There's not really a downside to having them upgraded since it produces the same amount of pollution and more plates for free. Basically,
it's free real estate.
Looking at the science setups, it's not a bad idea to clean up the bus so that we can get the necessary throughput that we need. The splitters are probably just causing more harm than good, to be honest. Looking at the labs, there's a backlog of green science, but not enough red science being made. That means it's about time to get red science assemblers upgraded to tier 2 so they can balance out. We have assemblers automated, so why not get green circuits upgraded as well? Logistics 2 research finally completed, so now let's get that added to the mall to make upgrades in the future. I truly enjoy walking up to the chests and grabbing 300 belts at a time, probably because handcrafting a single red belt is so painful. It's about time to get a quick and dirty setup built for engines. Having a small stockpile of engines will surely prove useful when I need to handcraft a few cars or trains in the future. Luckily, this is still my starter base, so all the sins that I commit during the building process will be forgiven when a more thought out base is built. I'll also set up automation for rails too. Only 6.7 hours in, and we finally get our first choo-choo train. I'm excited to have them because it will really increase the amount of belt spaghetti I can create with all the new resources that will surely flood into the base. Now that our original starter patch of resources is dwindling, it's time to set up a few train stations so that there is a constant inflow of resources. Like most things in this run, I didn't really plan too far ahead for future expansion of the train station. For now, I'll just have an iron depot station to keep raw iron going to the furnaces, as well as a depot for coal for furnaces and the boilers. I tried building my own railway blueprint book, but decided that I should rely on much better designs created by other people. I can't have my base and rail system be a complete nightmare, otherwise I won't get anything done. Trains are awesome to have, and a well-designed train network is even better. The blueprints I ended up using have quite a lot of railway signals, so I got those added to the mall too. This coal patch is big enough to last quite a long time, so I'm not worried about setting up a secondary coal mining operation anytime soon. I am a little nervous about the proximity to the biter nest though, because there are quite a lot of miners here, and that will output a lot of pollution which might trigger biter attacks in the future. While I'm back at the base grabbing a few things to finish up the coal outpost, you can see how empty the iron belts are. That will be the next high priority project to tackle because it's making it difficult to have enough building supplies to even finish setting up this outpost. This was my attempt at setting up a balanced loading system for the train. It doesn't really work that well, but as long as the train gets loaded at the end of the day, I can't be upset about it. With our first train loaded and heading back to the base, it's the perfect time to wrap up the episode and chug on to the next. I want to thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. It helps a lot. I hope you have an awesome day.